Vaccines show no signs of harming fertility or sexual dysfunction. Health Report Summary Number 4, a matter of public health. Hello everyone, this is Hewitt James, and I will be reading to you my health report summary generated from my physical fitness routines known as Hewitt's daily workout routine. Hewitt's daily workout routine. It is a question we fear most. To a man, it is about his sexual potency. To a woman, it's about her everlasting quest to assert, have, and exert control over her body and thus the ability to bear and bring her child into this world. To say the least, these are always going to be lingering concerns in our minds, given the tenuous situation we face today. Therefore, it is quite reasonable that people must have questions about the efficacy and downsides of the vaccine. So we must think it aloud and raise the legitimate concerns. The safety of our children demands that we do. However, we cannot resolve this matter by doing so privately, only in our minds, or by firstly and most grudgingly resorting to rumors and conspiracies. Also, we cannot forever turn out from our consciousness, or we cannot forever tune out from our consciousness the science that was designed and employed to mitigate this global phenomenon. In any likelihood, I believe that deep within one's conscience, one may rest and abide by common or conventional wisdom. This is the wisdom that may produce shared optimism that medicine will once again give us those familiar assurances that exist in the high probabilities, that our societies will be put back to work again, just like the way we know it. This can only come when we begin to see wholesale recovery from this pandemic in every country, at every corner of the earth, and on every patch of human habitat. Even so, we must never dismiss the wholesome and indomitable gift of the human will to survive. The original title of this article from which I have created this summary is Vaccines Show No Signs of Harming Fertility or Sexual Function. Based on the author's findings, which are much to the contradictions of many, there has not been, so far, any link to human sexual abilities, including the structures and functionalities to human fertility from the vaccines. This conclusion was drawn from the scientific studies conducted by experts, but more accurately, Ranjit Ramazé, director of the reproductive urology at the University of Miami. Ramazé and his team have published several studies to support this claim. Similarly, another study published in June 2021 has found that vaccination has shown to provide protection to embryos of vaccinated women when compared to those of the unvaccinated women, including those who faced exposure to the virus. The differences were stark. This was observed during a process by which facilitation was made for the transferring of embryos to subjects with and without the embryo antibodies. The results were startling. No effect at all on the embryos of the vaccinated females. According to Jane Frederick, the reproductive endocrinology and fertility specialist and medical director of HRC Fertility in California, you are more at risk of getting the virus while pregnant. Jane's reasoning is based on the nature of the immune system during pregnancy. She posits that pregnancy lowers the threshold for infection and leads to faster and steady worsening of the illness. Director Jane Frederick calls for taking the jab before conception. Supporting Jane's position is Mary Rosner, who heads the Irving Medical Center at Columbia University. Ms. Rosner has given assurances that the vaccine is safe across all 3 trimesters. Despite the early indication espoused by these professionals, there have been worrisome reports about a considerable number of females experiencing disruptions to their monthly cycles after taking the vaccine. The assumption is it may have been caused by stress, an added factor to taking the vaccine. Based on his published studies, Ranjit Ramsey had his team examined how the SARS-CoV-2 virus, that is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, travels to the body. According to the findings seen through their subjects, they concluded that the flow of blood through the body's organs provides an easy passageway for the virus. For this reason, they have had to look at the penis, since it relies heavily on blood flows for an erection. Ramsey and his staff, therefore, needed to learn about how COVID-19 interferes with erections. They sought to scrutinize penile tissues and their effects on erectile dysfunction. Although the studies were small and, in my view, not a quantifiable measure to support an irrefutable and lasting scientific thesis, the revelations were troubling. Director Ramsey and his team have found SARS-CoV-2 to be present in penile tissues 9 months after infection. The team believes that the rich blood supply to the penis provides the route through which the virus traveled. In addition, they discovered that the COVID-19 virus had lodged itself into the testes, something they saw as incredibly significant as it pertains to dealing with the scope and pace the disease progresses while the virus infects the human body. With respect to those vaccinated subjects, Ramsey and his team found no harm being done to their sperm counts and what he refers to as other fertility measures after vaccination. This, he feels, is very reassuring. In conclusion, I will discuss this report by adding my 2 cents, notwithstanding the gravity of this situation and the responsibilities that come with it. Firstly, I must admit that it is a matter that measures extremely high on the scale of the human enjoyment pyramid, which we cannot afford to overlook. One would surmise that this matter of procreation may resonate with the general population, and such may rest squarely on policymakers, doctors, pertinent practitioners, and us citizens. Because of this, there ought to be a resolutely concerted effort to get the public engaged further in this discussion. This can now be the one reason that should get the doubting Thomases to pause for a moment and review what is at stake. It might as well be concluded that it is humanity's survival, or it rests on humanity's survival. Despite the respectfully varied reasons people may hold regarding an acceptance to the conventions of medicines, its roles, controversies, and power over human life, it has played historically and at present. There must be a place where we shall establish our commonalities and address the issues head on So far, there has not been in the United States a single declarative position proclaimed by the entire medical community on the vaccine in a uniform manner. And I stand to be corrected on this. Despite this omission, the Center for Diseases and Control, CDC, remains the central authority and thus the final arbiter on the matter. The Center for Disease and Control, CDC, therefore sets the tone for the rest of the world and offers essential guidelines, though in the past year it has been inconsistent from time to time. This phenomenon has a lot of moving parts, so one can see how the Center for Disease and Control would have rephrased its statements, tweaked them, and even changed them altogether. There's been more than one variant of the virus since the outbreak in China. Therefore, the people who are charged with putting out the fire must now look forward to doing so with new tools. It is incumbent that they become more open and pragmatic rather than staying the course in dogmas and philosophies and the many lines of thoughts in the abstract. It is not in society's best interest that they play Russian roulette with this plague. A collectivized approach from every quarter in society is critical for the effective tackling of this unrelenting, malady-ridden virus. Unless this happens, we are looking ahead to what may shape up to be something like the falling of dominoes. Economists would refer to this effect as the multiplier effect on human health and the public at large by this virus. Our actions should tell us what we have learned from past pandemics and how we make the best choices and demonstrate smart adaptations in our time. I strongly believe that we should approach this matter with the seriousness and care it deserves. Among the various fertility issues that we humans face today, both males and females, I do not think we need another, especially if it can be avoided. Since Dr. Ramsey's studies were focused primarily on subjects who had penile tissue implants, one can argue that he had picked the incorrect subjects to produce the kinds of sample evidence that may reflect a more accurate projection within the general population. This point may be well taken. Nevertheless, this, in my view, is even more reason for more studies on this subject matter. Once scientific work begins in earnest, I trust we are not only going to seek and find further evidence, but added to them ought to be answers and effective remedies. This, however, will depend in many ways on the kinds of research. It will also depend on the researcher's focus, if aimed in a broader context. All things being constant, scientists, I hope, may delve into the holy grail of this malady and change the game altogether. The hope is it may bring about milder, better, non-invasive, or even sophisticated remedies to fight this pandemic and all the troubles with it. If we fail to put out the fire on this one, I am afraid that posterity may never forgive us, especially if we do not try to get it right. Efficient allocations of resources will have to play a vital role in this battle. I have no illusions about the ways private firms may seek to mobilize this effort, or monopolize this effort, especially when placed in the hands of multinational corporations. Given the divergent interests of businesses, including pharmaceutical companies, We have seen how the rest of the world, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, suffered during the earlier days of the HIV/AIDS outbreak. This was particularly caused by the power of intellectual property rights and the patent protections that were afforded by North American and European companies. These firms literally held restrictive control over retroviral drugs, which were too costly for an average patient in the developing world. According to the article, Unnecessary Deaths and Unnecessary Costs, 72% of the worldwide fatalities caused by HIV/AIDS occurred in Africa. One reason for the disproportionate concentration is that 1/3 of the world's population, close to 2 billion people, live there. In 2016, the population in Africa continent was recorded as 1.216 billion people. In another view based on Anderson 2009, in 1994, the United Nations intervened by using the World Trade Organization, WHO. It attempted to foster a new trade system within the then current one by bypassing the obstacles and creating somewhat of a set of contracts with countries and their companies to operate. It was a new agreement dubbed Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights, TRIPS. Among the requisite standards agreed to, it accommodated a commitment to making life-saving pharmaceuticals available to developing countries. This effort failed and did so even after the UN made amendments to the agreements. Even so, those amendments were observed to have gone unused as they were faced with criticisms. So the battle to make generic drugs had to be degenerated to an effort of last resort. Social scientists would describe it as tantamount to an act of situational ethics. Here is a lesson from which we must draw. The thing is, this might be a first-class effort to show how humanity can demonstrably save itself and do so effectively from the human side of things. Written by Hewitt James, Hewit's Daily Workout Routine. P.S. This is a public health gesture produced by Hewitt's Daily Workout Routine. It is Hewitt's effort to assist in the shared reduction of the negative externalities associated with the lack of exercise to the public. About the author, Emily Willingham is a science writer and author of Fallacy, Life Lessons from the Animal Penis. Avery Penguin Publishing Group, 2020. Her book, The Tailored Brain, From Ketamine to Keto to Companionship, The User's Guide to Feeling Better and Thinking Smarter, will be published in December 2021 by Basic Books. Recent articles by Emily Willingham. Masks are must-have to go back to school during the Delta variant surge. Breakthrough infections do not mean COVID vaccines are failing. New brain implant transmits full word from neural signals. Work cited or my bibliography. Emily Willingham, August 24th, 2021. Vaccine show no signs of harming fertility or sexual function. Scientific American. This is where it came from. Scientific American Journal, a publication or magazine. The next one is Erin M. Anderson, 2009. Unnecessary Deaths and Unnecessary Costs. Getting patented drugs to patients most in need. Boston College Third World Law Journal. And it has a website of https://lawdigtalcomm ons.bc.edu/vi/EWCONTENT.cgi question mark ARTICLE equal 1026 and CONTEX equal TWLJ. And this is the end of Hewitt's daily workout routines health report summary number 4, written by himself, no other than the humble servant of Hewitt James. Thank you everyone for listening.